This is the AAOS Career Podcast, part of the Bone Beat Orthopaedic Podcast channel. This series features conversations on professional development and growth opportunities within the field of musculoskeletal healthcare.
Welcome to the AAOS Career Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rex Lutz. Today, we'll be discussing the AAOS Annual Meeting from a resident's perspective, what you'll see and learn, and most importantly, why it's a social event of the year for orthopedic surgeons. Institutions will always send residents who are presenting to the annual meeting, but some also make the commitment to send the entire chief class, including Mount Sinai. Joining me today are Dr. Jaehon Kim, a hand and microvascular surgeon at Mount Sinai and director of the Hand and Upper Extremity Fellowship at the CV Star Hand Center, and Dr. David Kantrowitz, a sports medicine fellow at the American Sports Medicine Institute in Birmingham, Alabama, who did his residency at Mount Sinai. They are here to talk about their memorable annual meeting experiences and explain why sending the entire chief class to the meeting each year is a tradition every institution should adopt. Dr. Kim and Dr. Kantrowitz, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So as you guys know, the 2026 meeting, AAOS Annual Meeting, is March 2nd through the 6th this year. It's going to be in New Orleans. So it's a great opportunity for us to kind of let our listeners know what it's like to attend the meeting as a resident. So, Dr. Kim, I understand you had the opportunity to attend the annual meeting when you were a resident. So can you tell me about that initial experience for you when you first went to the meeting?
Yeah, I think like most residents, the opportunity to go to something like this comes with some sort of a presentation, poster or podium presentation. And my experience was no different. I had a little presentation to give. So I had the opportunity to go relatively early on in my residency. It's an overwhelming experience. You have thousands and thousands of orthopedic surgeons kind of descending upon this one city. And as soon as you walk out of the airport, there's all these banners and advertisements of different implants. And literally everywhere you look around, there are all these very well-known attendings that are walking by, just like your neighbor. And so it was really an overwhelming experience for me. So, that made a really big impression that this is kind of something that I wanted to incorporate throughout my entire life, really, as a practicing surgeon.
Yeah, that's great. I think it is at first, it's eye-opening when you first get there. So what would you say, besides that, like as far as events that you attended, what was most memorable for you?
For me, it was just the sheer amount of materials and education and conferences that are available for you to go. It's not, you're not following a one set of schedule, right? I mean, they give you this overwhelming amount of things that are happening concurrently, and you try to make a decision on what we think is best for you and best for your practice. And so all that information, trying to gather and kind of like navigate through the whole sort of experience was really, it was really overwhelming, and it was really fun, at the same time. And one of the things that was most memorable is, when, especially for these big podium presentations, especially at a big sort of almost like the stadium level with very high level technology and the amount of production quality that goes into it I thought was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that stage is incredible, as big as it is, and when you get to see everybody on the big screen, so to speak.
That's right.
It's really neat. So, from my understanding, you continue to go pretty much every year. What made you continue to go back as an attending after you first attended as a resident?
Yeah, so our residents go. So I wanted to be part of that because they go in chief year, which David will talk about. So I wanted to be that sort of the last. They're going off onto their career, and I wanted to be part of that experience as well. And for my own self, I mean, it's my own education, learning to be a better surgeon. And then also I do contribute to AAOS pretty much on a yearly basis. And so I wanted to share my thoughts and ideas and get an honest feedback from, really a lot of the surgeons that are interested in advancing our career as well as our technical skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely great for collaboration with your peers. So, Dr. Kantrowitz, that brings me to you. Dr. Kim talked about sending the whole chief class, and since you were a chief with him last year was your first time, from my understanding, going to San Diego. How was that?
It was great. Yeah, in our residency, all the chiefs go as PGY5s, and you can go earlier if you have a podium presentation. Our administration is pretty good about making every effort to get you there as far as monetary reimbursements and clinical duties, trying to get you covered. But I would say it's still hard to make it happen. Residency is busy, and you don't always have a podium. But as PGY5s, you get to go no matter what, and so it was great. I had my whole class there, which is rare. I mean, if you're an orthopedic resident, you know that you don't hang out with your class on a daily or even weekly basis because everyone's always working and someone's always on call. And so to have, almost an entire week where my whole class was together was awesome. San Diego was a little rainy that week. We were hoping for better weather, but the conference itself was great. And a lot of our attendings came out, like Dr. Kim and some others. And pretty much everyone who came tried to take us out to dinner. So the schedule was pretty much jam-packed the whole week.
Yeah, we're both from the Northeast. I was expecting some better weather over there in California, and unfortunately didn't get it this year. So was the meeting overall as you would have expected it to be based off of what you've heard when you were a younger resident?
Yeah, I think so. And I've gone to some other big meetings. I've gone to AOSSM a few times, to OSET, to some others. And this is kind of just like that, but even bigger. Like Dr. Kim said, everybody's there. So it's not just my field, which is sports medicine, but it's like, legends of hand surgery and spine surgery, and everybody's there. And, the keynote speaker was Captain Sully, which was awesome to hear that talk. I had an interview while I was there, which was cool. I mean, the conference really was great, head to toe. And I was able to present a couple of things, which was really awesome, and have my co-residents there in the audience too.
And what were those presentations on?
So for the academy, I had two. They were things I've been working on for actually quite a while. One was like a kind of a 2-year longitudinal study, and one was more like a 4 or 5-year longitudinal study that culminated in my chief year. So it was great to be able to present on those. They were both knee sports medicine topics. So the first that I had a poster on, but it was a poster selected for a presentation. So I gave it more like a podium. That was on outcomes following arthroscopic partial meniscectomy, which is something that seems very kind of commonplace that everyone thinks they know about, but there's really not consensus timeline for recovery in the literature. And so it was a longitudinal study over many years with all of the sports medicine attendings at Sinai contributing their patients with a very large sample, kind of reporting when people get back to work, when they get back to walking without crutches, when they get back to, all these kind of things, and stratifying out risk factors. So that was cool. That was the first one. And the second was a MRI ACL paper, kind of using a classification system both on MRI and arthroscopically to see how well MRI can actually identify the tear location for an ACL tear. Because as ACL treatment algorithms change a little bit, where a tear is occurring from proximal to distal on the ligament is actually important, and MRI doesn't do a great job of identifying that. And so that was the podium presentation, and that one stirred up the crowd a little bit more. I got some good questions from the audience.
Yeah, that's always fun when the mics are hot and you have dueling mics there. I think what's also interesting is, there's so many people from different countries, and even if you think your study might be commonplace in the United States, you have a lot of orthopedic surgeons from across the country who may be learning these new techniques or these new studies directly from you. So that definitely makes it fun. So what was it like presenting to kind of a more global audience?
I mean, it was very cool. And it's funny you say that, because actually a lot of the questions I had were from international attendings, who have an interest in how we do things here and what we do with our patients and stuff like that. So very cool to see the difference in perspectives. And, while it's global, it also feels extremely local. I had one of the attendings that I worked with as a sub-I, 6 years prior. He was the moderator for my panel for the podium. And so I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me." And he was like, "Of course I remember you, man." And it was cool. Hadn't seen him in 6 years. And, he's a big attending in my field. So it's cool to connect with him and share my research with him too.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then were all your co-chiefs in the audience for your podium?
Yeah. The one going into spine might've been sleeping, but they were all there rooting me on. And it was fun. It was cool to have, they were all in like the front row. And, I don't think I could have asked for a better audience. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh God, I know she's gonna watch this podcast and she's gonna know exactly who she is.
Oh yeah. Not by name though.
So, Dr. Kim, you received the Orthopedic Video Theater Award, which is a huge honor.
Rex, he gets that every year though. It's like it's an automatic.
I actually won it 2026 in New Orleans as well. I just got the news.
Did you really?
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Congratulations.
So, from my understanding, it's that I haven't had the opportunity to kind of experience the OVT in person there. But can you tell me why it's a can't miss experience? Why it's so special?
I mean, it's a little bit different way of presenting things, right? Us, more scientific mind that we are, it was always an abstract presentation, background, materials and methods, results, conclusion. I mean, that format hasn't changed over the last, God knows, 50, 60 years. So when this whole technology became available to share your technique, it really became very, very popular. And AAOS, most people don't know about it, but they've been doing this since I believe 70s and 80s. You may have to fact check that, but they actually have a library of old cassette tapes that were available for technique. So that's now just gotten into more digital format. I guess I was one of the ones that kind of in the past started this earlier, but the quality was just terrible. We didn't know what we're doing. There was no organization to it. The format was kind of like there was no sort of guidelines to what constitutes a good video. So we're kind of stabbing in the dark. But over time, it's kind of evolved into this very well organized run system, especially for AAOS OVT, and it's peer reviewed. So it's not like something that I just drummed up and submitted and it gets automatically accepted. It gets reviewed. It gets curated, and there's a lot of discussion and there's modifications, there's feedback, and you have to make changes. And a lot of the residents, as you guys all know, now just go to the technique videos to prepare for their cases. So I think it's one of just a different way of sharing something that you do on a daily basis, because you can't really apply an abstract to a surgical technique. It's a little bit harder to do that. You're looking at the outcomes and results, and you're kind of reading about how they do things, but visually seeing it, I think, for a surgical specialty probably could be a little bit more helpful.
So what video do we get to look forward to seeing from you this year?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of elbow surgery. This one is about distal humerus fractures, the one that in 2026. And then the one that last year was a wrist reconstruction for scapholinate dissociation. So stuff like that. I mean, it's things that people are interested in. Things are a little bit challenging. They're like, like if it's a little bit more complicated, how would you treat this? So, it's just kind of my way of wording it. Towards the end of the video, we also kind of have to, you can't just submit something and say, hey, this is how I do it. We actually have to submit a little bit of an outcome. So there's a little bit of experience behind the video. So we're not just presenting something that's, I've done it once in my life.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'll have to check out your video when I'm there. So let's switch gears. We've been talking a little academically, but there's also a huge social aspect of the annual meeting. So Dr. Kantrowitz, did you and your co-resident or, co-chiefs have a lot of time to hang out and just kind of enjoy each other's company outside of work?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as great as the academy is, it is hard to sit and listen to, 10 consecutive hours of lectures 5 days in a row. So definitely is some time to sneak away and have lunch and drinks and, meet up with people. Like Dr. Kim said, I don't have previous co-residents, but we do have med school classmates and people you meet on sub-Is, people you meet on the interview trail. And pretty much every time we went out, someone in our group would be like, hey, my friends from my med school are going to come, or from, and those groups would mingle. And so it was really cool. And also all the attendings that we had. So Dr. Kim took us out. I think we had like a 25-person steak dinner at one of the restaurants. And I would say, who else? Dr. Sanavarani, one of our sports attendings, took us out. The reps were taking us out. And it's funny because Dr. Kim said a few days isn't long enough. The itinerary we had, like people were like, hey, I'm in town. Can we find a time to do dinner? I was like, hey, we're booked out. Like it's, which is rare to turn down an attending trying to take you out to dinner, but it was, the schedule was packed. So definitely plenty of time for fun. There were even times that I would get text. One night, the night before my podium, I was trying to take it easy. And so I left whatever place we were at early. And I got a couple texts from people being like, guys that I knew from the sports fellowship trail were like, hey, I see your co-residents. Where are you? And I was like, I had to go home early, and, and so it was a cool, a very fun time.
Our
That
residents are a little bit spoiled. You have to reserve them a couple of weeks in
Oh
advance for
yeah,
the
they got to book us out
AOS.
early. It's New York City. You got to go on Resi if you want to take us out to dinner.
I actually reserved you guys very early on for the prime
Of
spot of
course.
Thursday night. Usually the
Yep.
Thursday night is the prime spot. And so yeah, I ended up gathering all 25 of them. And they bring their family sometimes if they're available, especially like somewhere like San Diego or New Orleans is a really, really fun city. So, and if you have significant others or family, they can enjoy the city while you're going out to a conference, enjoying your education, and then, have a little fun at night when things are slowing down and extend your visit a couple days just to see the city. I mean it's such a productive trip, right? I mean, you're having fun, you're learning, you're getting all these experience, you're collaborating, you're seeing all your old friends. I mean, I don't know where else you can get that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you cover everything all in 1 week, which is nice. So, Dr. Kim, you take all the residents, you and a couple other attendings take all the residents that attend out to dinner. How special is that just to get everybody just to hang out and in a relaxed environment and just enjoy each other's company?
I mean, it's wonderful, and it's hard to get all residents together in one room. And I mean, I have pictures of it going back 10 years. So and I have all the residents that I've taken out for AOS, all of them together in one room. And I mean, that's a great memory, right? And I still talk to these guys, and some of these guys are gonna be, the president of AOS someday. So, so I mean, for me, it's the best experience, and I can definitely pretend like I'm the most popular attending from our program. So I get a little bit of fist pump with that, but for me it's a lot of fun, and it's very meaningful for me. You spent 5 years with them. That's a long time. That's more than the entire college.
Hopefully, Dr. Kantrowitz doesn't forget about you when he's the big man at AAOS.
No, can never. Dr. Kim, no, he was actually my assigned faculty mentor. So in our program, everyone gets an assigned mentor the day that you match as an intern. And so I didn't know exactly what I was going to go into. I probably never was going to go into hand, but they assigned me to Dr. Kim. And some people will switch mentors. They'll be like, hey, I'd rather have a mentor in my subspecialty. But I just figured it's an extra mentor in my corner. And so he was my mentor for 5 years, took me out to dinner a bunch of times. We talked about business stuff, life stuff, family planning stuff. And so, yeah, he's a very popular attending in our program. Everybody wants him as their mentor.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great to have an advocate. So, Dr. Kim, thank you for being such a good advocate for residents. Dr. Kim, I have a question for you. If other program directors or programs aren't currently doing this, why should these institutions send their entire chief class to the meeting each year?
I think it kind of sets the tone for their career as well. For orthopedics, technology is changing. There's so many different implants, and it's hard to keep track of it while you're practicing in all the hustle of all the patient care and surgery and all the family responsibilities that you have. By going to AOS once a year for that couple days, you can get a good scheme of, hey, this is what's coming up, this is what's interesting, this is the stuff that we've been doing, but it doesn't work. And then you also have the exhibitors from the implant companies that are showcasing their new stuff that may be beneficial to your practice or that are more cost effective. So I think in order to further your career, to become a better surgeon, and to run things more efficient, even in your private practice, right? There's things that are actively targeting private practice surgeons to come and learn at AOS. So I don't think that's asking very much, at least once a year to come. And I think sending the chiefs kind of sets that tone. Hey, this is an important avenue for you to have. This is an important resource. If not every year, every few years, just definitely go and do that. And I think, and it's also a nice thank you for your 5 years of service. I think for me, it really is a good thing for you to do for the residents. I mean, listen, you have these guys that are working their butt off for the 5 years that they're with you, and they're a huge part of our lives. We never forget them. I still talk to them just like now, even after they graduate, and I still chat with them. And for them to just say, hey, thank you for 5 years. Here's a small little gift that you can go to AAOS with your classmates and enjoy that entire week. We're all very, productive and sort of, we don't want to sit there and do nothing. So AOS is just like perfect. You learn something. There's so much stuff to do. I mean, they talk about stuff that you don't even learn about in residency, right? It's not just about surgery. They talk about, professional growth. They talk about managing your practice. They talk about, you can even interview for your jobs as you go as a resident, if you're about to graduate. Just like you said, there's a career center there. There's so much to do. And at the same time, you can also have fun, see your medical school classmates, which is also kind of one of the things. It's not just your resident. All these orthopedic residents that's gone to somewhere else in the country, they usually come and you meet at the AOS. I still meet my residents, my core residents from 10, 15 years ago, and I see them once a year, and that's at AOS, really nowhere else. So, and because they're all in a different specialty, right? So it's just that one opportunity for all of us to get together, because at the end of the day, we're actually pretty tight-knit group, even though we're a relatively big field.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun catching up with people. You go the whole week, right?
I almost always go to the entire week. Yeah, it's a little tough. Yeah.
Is it hard to step away from your practice and squeeze that in?
Yeah, I mean that's always been tough, but at the end of the day, is it like 3 versus 4 days or 3 versus 5 days? At the end of the day, it's not that much more. And I mean, I can't really speak for any other orthopedic surgeons, but for me, I think that 2 days is worth the extra learning opportunities and get together with because you're so busy that I just feel like if I were to go there for 3 days, just doesn't quite cut it, So I do try to go for the vast majority of the conference, and I learn stuff from others. I just did a huge revision total elbow, and I used the exact same cement ingredient I learned in residency from a total joint master surgeon who does tons of revisions. It's like, Jay, this is how I mix my cement with antibiotics, and I still use that exact thing. So you can still learn a lot from other specialties.
Yeah, that's unique to the annual meeting versus all these subspecialty meetings, which makes it fun. Well, Dr. Kim and Dr. Kantrowitz, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your experiences today. Hopefully at the annual meeting this year, I can have the opportunity to run into both of you and catch up. And just as a reminder, the meeting is from March 2nd to March 6th, and it will be down in New Orleans this year. So we look forward to hopefully seeing a lot of our listeners there.
Thanks, Rex. Yeah, would love to meet you in person, and thanks for having us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Just text me, man. We'll go out.
Okay, sounds great.
That's the whole point of AOS. Meet guys like you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the AAOS Career Podcast, part of the Bone Beat Orthopaedic Podcast channel. Hosted by Dr. Rex Lutz and featuring special guests Dr. Jaehon Kim and Dr. David Kantrowitz. Production and editing by MK Quinn Media. Visit aaos.org/annual to learn about the wealth of educational offerings, orthopedic innovations, and networking opportunities available exclusively at the 2026 annual meeting. Don't wait. Register now so you can experience your own memorable moments in New Orleans. To hear other conversations on professional development, please visit aaos.org/thebonebeat.